Hello, on this Thursday evening, I'm Declan Harvey. No criminal offences were found to have been committed by police investigating alleged threats against the leader of the DUP. Last month, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson told the Commons he had been threatened because of what he called a stirring up of tensions over his party's talks on returning to Stormont. A warning. Our first report this evening from Brendan Hughes contains some flash photography.
Before any deal has been done, talking about a sellout.
It was the speech many were waiting 2 years for the DUP leader to make. In an impassioned address in the Commons last month, Sir Geoffrey faced down his unionist critics.
Because of the stirring up that is going on, I was threatened. Threatened. By those who never put on a uniform. By those who haven't served our country. And when I checked out, one of the people who threatened me on the register didn't vote at the last election.
At the time, the DUP said the threats Sir Geoffrey spoke of were reported to the PSNI. 1 month on, police have now concluded their investigations. In a statement, a PSNI spokesman said inquiries were made, no offences were detected, and the investigation has now concluded. In response, Sir Geoffrey thanked police for their investigative efforts and said a decision was made not to press charges. He said those who made the threats now know they are not beyond the reach of the law and cannot threaten people in public life and stay anonymous from the police. Case closed for some, but for unionists critical of the DUP's return to power sharing, they believe Sir Geoffrey should apologise.
It was an opportunity of convenience for Sir Geoffrey at the time in the House of Commons to try and maximise sympathy, to try and divert attention from the huge scale of the climb down he was about to engage in. And he was quite happy to slur those of us who were daring to stand and remind them of his 7 tests, which he was about to shred.
Sir Geoffrey's speech was a key moment in the DUP ending its Stormont boycott. With the conclusion of this police probe, the party will be hoping the focus can now return fully to the business of government. Brendan Hughes, BBC Newsline.
The SDLP leader, Colm Eastwood, won't be prosecuted after accompanying some Bloody Sunday families to a court hearing involving Soldier F last summer. The Foyle MP walked in a procession with relatives of the dead and injured to Bishop Street Courthouse, and although it was found there was enough evidence to prosecute, a decision was taken not to because it wouldn't be in the public interest. The Public Prosecution Service said it had taken the decision not to prosecute 7 people in connection with the unnotified procession due to the small number of people involved, the fact that it was peaceful and caused no public disorder, and that no harm or damage occurred and there was minimum disruption caused. Well, Colm Eastwood joins us now live from Derry, a wet Derry, it must be said this evening. We're grateful for your time. The law is very clear on this. Anyone who takes part in a public procession for which no notice was given shall be guilty of an offence, it says. Do you accept that an offence was committed here?
No, I don't, because it wasn't a parade. We didn't know we were going to do it. It was a last-minute thing, and we just walked up the street. I mean, and what really happened there, the context of this is really important. After 52 years, Bloody Sunday families finally are getting a day in court, hopefully to see Soldier F prosecuted for murders on that day. I mean, and a few of us walked alongside them up the street to the courthouse in harming nobody, offending nobody, and up an empty street. So I think the PPS was absolutely right, but the PSNI should never have investigated this on foot of a vindictive complaint by Jamie Bryson, who is clearly only interested in stirring up trouble and not at all interested in the trauma that those families have been through for 5 decades. He was happy to put them through more. I mean, I just think it's despicable.
Well, we'll come on to what Jamie Bryson has been saying in a moment, but there were others with you last summer, as you say. But this is about the principle of the law. You're an MP. You are clearly held to a higher standard. And I wonder, by supporting those who didn't go through due process, and the PPS has found that they didn't, in their opinion, are you undermining the Parades Commission?
No, I think that's a ridiculous assertion. The Parades Commission was set up to deal with loyal orders and big parades. This was a handful of people walking up a street. It wasn't planned. We didn't think about it until in the moment, and we walked up a couple of 100 yards to the courthouse. And let's get real here. It took 5 decades to get one single soldier into a courthouse. We haven't even got him there yet. And what some people wanted to do was actually prosecute the victims, the family members of 14 innocent people who were shot dead by the paratroopers in Derry on the 30th of January 1972. I mean, that is ridiculous by any standard. And that's why the PPS threw it out, because it is ridiculous. And it was a political point made by an upstart who doesn't seem to have anything better to do other than put victims through more trauma.
You are not being prosecuted because the PPS said that your procession that day was small, it was brief, there was minimal disruption. Did you realise that they were potential things that could get you around the requirements as laid out by the Parades Commission?
I mean, talking about this as if it was some big planned endeavour, that we were on some kind of protest or whatever, it's just nonsensical. We turned a corner and walked up a street.
No one's saying protest, no one's saying parade. We're saying it was a procession.
No, I know, but
or the PPS is.
But I don't know how you can. Yeah, but I don't know how you can notify about something if you don't know you're going to do it. It was a last-minute, spare-of-the-moment thing, and I just think, frankly, that the victims of Bloody Sunday, the ones who've been left behind, are entitled to walk up a street in Derry without being hauled through a judicial process. I think every sensible person understands that, and this has been used as a political tool. And I see Jim Allister's at it now again today, putting in questions in the Assembly. People would need to really get a life. If they were really concerned with the rule of law, they should be trying to get soldiers into the dock for the murders that they committed on Bloody Sunday.
You mentioned Jamie Bryson. He is the one who reported you to the police. He's been speaking on our sister programme on Radio Ulster this evening, and he accepted today, or certainly appeared to, that this was not necessarily a complaint made on the basis of what happened, but more an attempt to highlight how ridiculous the rules around processions and parades are in Northern Ireland. Do you agree with him on that point?
Yeah, so I heard Jamie actually on Evening Extra. So if you just extrapolate that out, what Jamie is actually saying, and he said this by his own words, that he was using this as some sort of test case. So what he was doing was putting family members of the Bloody Sunday dead through a judicial process, through all the trauma and worry of that, to test a case about a law about parading in Northern Ireland, because he's a bit offended because because he ended up in jail for a month or whatever it was over the flag protests, of course, which ended up on many occasions in violence. This was a few victims walking up a street. I mean, I think it is beneath contempt, actually, that he would do that and put those people through that just to make a political point.
Colm Eastwood, we're very grateful for your time, particularly because you've been withstanding the rain on the banks of the Foyle there this evening. But thank you so much. That's the MP for Foyle and the SDLP leader.